Okay, welcome to lesson 1-4. So we are continuing on. Some of this might be actually a little bit of review if you watch the B2 video for the IXL B2, because there was some stuff on segments and arrays in there. All right, so if we just take a look at this first page, we're going to throw a few vocabulary words at you. A segment, array, and then the word opposite rays. So one of the things we have to think about with line segments is, a segment is a part of something, right? If you used it in a sentence, all right, if you've never heard of that word before, that's what it is, right? The segment is a part. So a line segment is a part of a line. It has an endpoint on each end. It does not go on forever. And the symbol, although you can barely see it here, is just a line that goes above that AB. Okay, so again, the order does not matter. All right, you could have line segment BA here. That would be fine as well. Okay, and instead of the arrows on top, we just have a line that means a segment. Okay, so far we've learned that this over here means line, and now we know this means a line segment. Okay, and again, the order does not matter, just like the order when you listed them does not matter on a line. Okay, then we get to array. An array is a little bit trickier. All right, think of array almost like a flashlight, like where you hold it in your hand is the end point, okay, and then it shines a beam of light in only one direction. Okay, so array does have an end point, and the end point has to be the first letter. Okay, super important. The end point has to be the first letter. So with the other ones, the order does not matter. With array, the order matters. Okay, so this ray that you're looking at that starts here and goes this way can only be called ray YX. Okay, and how we write that, you can see it underneath there, but we write a Y and an X and then an arrow in the direction. So here's the endpoint, which is at the Y, and it goes this way towards the X, and that's why the direction matters. Okay, so just think array is a little bit trickier. You have to pay attention as to which one's your endpoint. Okay, so ray YX, if it was ray XY, it would have to start here and go this way, but this one goes that way. Okay, then we have opposing rays or opposite rays. Okay, the key thing to remember with those is they always form a straight line. Okay, so array, look over here on your left. If array goes this way and array goes this way, they're almost opposing rays. All right, they share a common endpoint, but they don't form a straight line. This would not be opposing rays. They have to form a straight line, and they have to share, this is the other important thing, they have to share the same endpoint. Okay, so ray RQ, which goes this way, the blue one, and ray RS, which is the red one, they form a straight line, they share the endpoint, super important. Okay, those are opposing rays. All right, let's move on. And let's name some segments and rays. So you could pause it here and try and do this on your own, okay, if you want. Pause it and then come back and watch me go through it, okay? So what are the segments here? All right, so we have a few segments. We have line segment LP, which is this guy right here. We have line segment PQ, which is this guy right here. And a segment can be a big segment, so we also could have line segment LQ, which is there. Okay, now there's also lines in there, right? But they're not asking me for that, so we're going to leave it at just this. These are the three segments. Now, I could reverse the order of all these. This could be PL, this could be QP, and this could be QL. Okay? Order does not matter on those. Then we want to know what the rays are. All right, so let me erase those little lines there, here and here. Okay, and I am going to, hold on a second. I am going to show you what the rays look like. All right, so remember, a ray starts at an endpoint. So we have ray LP, which would go here and go this way. We have ray LQ, which would start here and go this way. Then we have ray PL, which would start here and go this way. And we have ray QL, which would start here and go this way. So there's a fair amount of rays there, right? We have LP, which goes that way. We have LQ, which goes that way. We have PL. The arrow always goes to the right, okay? But I'm starting at P. So that one, let me do that one in a different color. Here's ray PL. Because that's a line, ray PL starts here and goes that way. And then the last one, so I did this one in red, right? The last one would be QL, and that one would start here, and it would go that way. All right, and then there's also a ray, it doesn't really matter what color I do it in, I guess. There's a ray PQ, which goes that way. And I don't think I missed any. LP, PQ, LQ, QL, PL. Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, so those are your rays. So just remember the order matters on these guys here. Check your work, make sure you understand that. The arrow always goes to the right, okay? Yeah, they show you a little model of a sunbeam. That's kind of what I was talking about with a flashlight, right? You know, like wherever you're holding it is the end point, shines out. Think of the sun, right? Ray of sun. You've heard that before, I'm sure. Okay, so the critical thinking here is ray LP and ray PL, do they form a line, okay? And you say, all right, ray LP goes this way, ray PL goes this way. So yes, they form a line, but are they opposite rays? They are not opposite rays. And why are they not opposite rays? Because they do not share an endpoint. Remember, I told you that was important, right? Definitely we'll see that on a quiz, a question like that, right? Okay, opposing rays. You have to know they share an endpoint, they form a line. So LP and PL, let me do them out for you. Let me see. LP goes this way. PL goes that way. So they form a line, but they do not share an endpoint. This one has L, this one has P. That's why they're not opposing rays. So opposing rays on this one would be like PQ and PL. All right, those would be opposing rays. So hopefully that makes sense. All right, now we get into some parallel lines and skew lines. All right, you pronounce that skew line. So a couple new vocab terms for you. So parallel lines, okay, they're always coplanar, okay, and they don't intersect. Okay, so here is a line which is parallel to this line. Okay, a skew line, okay, are non-coplanar, meaning they're not on the same plane, okay, and they don't intersect. So if you can kind of envision this line going forever like this, and then this line is behind it, right? So even if I did draw it down from here, you understand that that's kind of on the back of the box back there, and it goes like around that, right? And it goes down. So even though it looks like it intersects in the world of 3D, those would not intersect, and that's what's called a skew line, okay? Now, we can also talk about parallel planes. All right, so the planes that are parallel, just think like left, right, front, back, top, bottom. They're all parallel to each other. So here's left over here. It's parallel to the right over here, right? The top plane is parallel to the bottom plane. The front plane is parallel to the back plane, all right, and so on and so forth, all right? And then parallel planes, they never intersect. And a line and a plane that do not intersect are also parallel. All right. So if this plane, let me erase that and draw that last one out so you know what I'm talking about there. All right. So if we have a plane like this guy over here, all right, and a line here, if these do not intersect, then they are parallel with each other. This line is parallel with that plane. That should make sense, right? All right. Now we got a few examples and the lesson's over. So it's a nice quick example, all right? So maybe you could try these on your own if you want and pause it and check with what I'm going to do here if you'd like and see what your knowledge is to this point, all right? So let me do them for you. Okay, so we have to name all the segments that are parallel to DC. So here's DC. So what are the segments that are parallel? Well, I know AB is parallel to it, right? Because it's on a parallel plane up here. I know GH is parallel to it. And since this JI is on the back face of that, which is a parallel plane with the front, I know that JI or IJ, however you want to write it, is also a parallel segment. All right, so we have those segments. And it's just asked me for the labeled ones, right? So this would also be a parallel one, but it's not labeled, so we're not going to include it. All right. Then it wants to know all of them that are skew to that. So let me erase our parallel ones, and let's put ourselves into the land of skew. All right, skew lines, all right, to this one here. If this were labeled, this line back here would be skew to it, and this would be skew to it, but they're not labeled, right? So we have to find skew lines to it. So NJ right here is skew to it, this one right here, all right? All right, because it does not intersect it, right? And it's not parallel with it. It goes up and down, and this one goes here. And then the other ones, if you kind of envision this line going all the way across, this line here, right, which comes out, would just kind of keep going out in front. So even though it looked like it might intersect up here, right, if you can kind of put that down like it's facing at you, this line JG and IH would also be skew. And they are all line segments. Okay, so hopefully that helps talking about parallel and skew lines. And you could try this one on your own and pause it. All right, we want to know all labeled segments that are parallel to GJ. Okay, so parallel to GJ would be IH, right? Because we're talking about GJ, which is this guy right here. All right, ND would also be parallel to it. All right, so those would be parallel. All right, and we have more parallel ones, right? But since they're not labeled, we can't put them down on there, right? And all segments that are skewed to it. Remember, skews do not intersect. So what would be skew to that line there? Well, this would be skewed to it right here. CH, right? CH would be skew. And NJ is parallel to it, right? So that one, is perpendicular to it, and it intersects, so they can't intersect, and this one intersects it, right? So the other one that would be skewed to it would be DC. DC would also be skewed to that. And another one that would be skewed would be AB. So those would be skew to GJ or JG, okay? And then it asks for another pair of parallel segments and another pair of skew segments. So you guys could have a lot of answers for those, all right? Erase that. All right, and if we just look at this, and we could just pick parallel segments. I don't know, DJ here and CH. Those are parallel with each other. And skew might be DG and HI. Those are skew to each other, right? So those would be other pairs. And there's a few answers you could put for that one. All right, those are skew. All right. Identifying parallel planes. So what are two pairs of parallel planes? You could have three pairs here. You could have the left and the right. All right, so sorry about that. I'll give you a couple of them. So maybe plane ADG. That's this one over here. That's the left. And maybe I'll choose the right, which I'm going to call BHI. Remember, you need 3 points for a plane. Okay? And people will use 4. All right, but the only ones you need are 3. It's not wrong to put 4 though. All right, so that is one pair of parallel planes. Another pair would be like the top and the bottom. Okay, AGH and DJI, something like that. All right, and then a line that is parallel to GHIJ. So GHIJ, is that the front or the back? It is the back. So if I want a line parallel to the back, that would be this line here, line AB. And remember, they're asking me for a line, so I have to give you a line. If this was a quiz and you put this here, you'd lose a little bit of credit. Okay, if they ask you for a line segment, then that's the answer. But they're asking me for a line that's parallel to plane. Remember, planes go on forever, so parallel would be a line. DC would also be parallel to that plane. Okay. BC would also be parallel to that plane, and AD would also be parallel to that plane. All right, and this is more of the same stuff down here. What are 3 pairs of parallel planes? So the 3 pairs on here are the left and the right, the top and the bottom, and the front and the back. Use 3 letters to define them, okay? And then a line that is parallel to QRUV, that is this side. Remember, that goes on forever. So this line is parallel to it, this line is parallel to it, this line is parallel to it, and this line is parallel to it. How do I know that? Because this is parallel to this plane. So I know any line in this plane is going to be parallel to this plane. So you could have any of those. I'll write one of them down just for kicks. Okay, so that is rays line segments. All right, remember we talked about opposing rays, have to have a common endpoint. Work on some of these problems here tomorrow in class. And hopefully we get a good taste of what these lessons look like as we move forward and attack the distance learning stuff. We're going to move at a quicker pace next week once we get this stuff down. Okay, so I hope that stuff makes sense. You know, you can go back and do these warm-ups if you want. I probably should have done that at the beginning, but I think you guys are pretty good with that. All right, I will see you guys in class.